Last month I started thinking about my kind of goals and resolutions for the next year, and I can't say I'm the best at goal setting, but I do feel like in the past few months I've had kind of a mindset shift and an energy shift around like setting goals and then actually taking steps to reaching those goals. So I wanted to share like my thoughts about goal setting with you all. So as I was thinking about the goals that I wanted to set for the new year, the biggest one is that I want to make more art next year. Like that's my overarching kind of big picture goal. And I think there are a lot of ways to go about like accomplishing that goal, but I wanted to create a goal or a resolution that was like achievable and meaningful and intentional. So ultimately I decided that my resolution for next year is to make art for 15 minutes every day. And the reason that I chose this goal is because I want to focus on building my identity as an artist. And I know that the only way to do that is to make more art. So by setting this goal or this resolution that's kind of like making art every day for at least 15 minutes, that is ultimately going to get me in the habit of making more art on a daily basis and kind of staying consistent in my creative practice. Consistency is hard for me in my creative practice, has been, and I want to really kind of focus on consistency and dedication to something that is meaningful to me. I also know that like by committing to 15 minutes a day, there will be many days where I will get started, work for 15 minutes and keep going after that. So 15 minutes is sort of like this period where I can say that I, committed to myself to do something creative, but ideally I will get the momentum going and keep going for longer than that. So yeah, I just want to, in this video, kind of share with you how I came up with this specific resolution or goal and why it's so meaningful and intentional, and how you can set goals using the same kind of strategies that I used to set this one. So let's get started. The first strategy that I have for setting goals is to build a solid foundation of self-love, security, and acceptance. Catherine Andrews is a coach for highly sensitive women, and she had an Instagram post about this recently that I really liked, and so I'm going to read a bit of it to you. You don't need motivation to achieve your goals. You need belief, self-worth, and feeling safe in being seen. Too many of us set goals that are meant to fix us, but when we set goals from a foundation of feeling broken, that's very unstable and we will struggle to achieve those goals. What can you do first to believe in your worth? When you set goals from a place of self-acceptance, those goals are much easier to go after because the foundation is loving and stable. So ask yourself, are your goals secretly meant to fix or improve something you feel is broken about you? I struggle with past wounds of rejection, shame, criticism, and all of these things have really held me back in the past from making creative work. Ultimately, I was scared and didn't trust myself, and kind of working on this aspect of my foundation and my mental state has been really helpful in taking action toward the things that I want. How I built this foundation of self-love and acceptance is this past year I started going to therapy. I also read the book The Artist's Way, which is kind of like a recovery program for blocked artists. I highly recommend it if you've never gone through that program before. I did some other like Reiki energy healing sessions. I've done massage, facials, and I'll caveat this by saying all of that is possible because I am in a place of privilege where like all of those things cost money, and The Artist's Way is probably, you can get that book for free online as a PDF. I've seen it on there. So I think that's a really good place to start if those other resources might not be available to you right now. Yeah, so after doing kind of, not after, but like throughout the process of doing all of these therapies and kind of working on my foundation of self-love, I have been able to actually start taking action on the things that matter to me. And it feels like I have this sense of clarity around my goals and my dreams and the direction that I want my life to go that I didn't have before. It's like all of the doubt and shame and like self-criticism kind of has been cleared a little bit, and my mind feels more free to focus on my dreams. And I do want to say here, like, this does not mean that in order for you to start taking steps toward your goals that you need to like be healed first. I don't think that like if you're excited about something and you want to set that goal and start working on it immediately, like let that excitement motivate you. But if you're someone who struggled to kind of keep that excitement and motivation going throughout the course of a year or multiple years and you kind of give up on yourself, I highly recommend healing these core wounds and getting yourself set up with a solid foundation so that you feel safe. You feel like you're in a safe place to continue working toward your goals. The second strategy I have for setting goals is to set authentic goals, meaning to set goals that are meaningful and exciting to you, even if they might not fit the traditional mold for what a goal like or a success metric might be in today's society. What I do is get rid of any goal that has the word or feeling of should, like something you should do. Most concrete example I have for this is I'm a software engineer, and in the software community there is this pressure to kind of work on coding projects outside of work. Like outside of work, you should have like these personal projects or like work on open source software. Basically, you should spend all of your time coding. And for several years, I had goals or resolutions that were related to like side projects that I wanted to do outside of work. But ultimately, those goals were on my list because I felt like they should be there in order to like look like a good candidate for future positions in the software engineering industry. And this is just a recipe for like setting myself up for failure, because ultimately these goals, these resolutions, even when I did work on them, they didn't feel good to work on, and I would a lot of times just abandon projects, right after starting them or halfway through, or never start them at all. So if you have any goals on your list that you feel like have this should behind them, really examine that. And you can like go through your goals and kind of list reasons why, like for each goal, list 10 reasons why that goal is important to you or meaningful to you. And if you don't like those reasons why, then maybe that goal is a should goal and you can, take it off and consider alternatives. My last tip is to set process goals instead of outcome goals. Most people start by setting outcome goals like I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to write a best-selling book. And ultimately, these goals are, when I've set them in the past, there's always been something that leaves me feeling empty after accomplishing them. And I recently came across this book review. It kind of articulates why these kind of goals can leave us feeling so empty. The problem Satya finds is that there's something intrinsically self-defeating about getting things done. Once you've done them, you can't do them anymore. Having a child, writing a book, saving a life, the completion of your project may be of value, but it means that the project can no longer be your guide. There's a sense in which all goal-directed behavior is ironic. In pursuing a goal, you are trying to exhaust your interaction with something good, as if you were to make friends for the sake of saying goodbye. The solution that I found is to engage with the process of a project and not the end product of a project. So this is where the idea for like make art for 15 minutes every day came from, because I wanted to create a goal that let me like enjoy the present moment and not focus on some sort of future state. And I know that the process of making art actually makes me feel really grounded and centered. So this goal kind of allows me to enjoy the process of making art. I bought this giant wall calendar so that it would be easy to like place a sticker or a mark on the days that I had completed the goal. And then the funny thing is that as I was like researching this video, I came across this article written by James Clear, who is the author of Atomic Habits, where he writes about Jerry Seinfeld's advice to a young comedian. And this is the advice that Seinfeld gave. He said, "The way to be a better comic was to create better jokes, and the way to create better jokes was to write every day. He told me to get a big wall calendar that has a whole year on one page and hang it on a prominent wall. The next step was to get a big red magic marker. He said, for each day that I do my task of writing, I get to put a big red X over that day. After a few days, I'll have a chain. Just keep at it, and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain." In this way, completing our goals is less about motivation and more about embodying the action of writer, artist, baker, chef, comedian, whatever it is you aspire to be. And this is why I love process goals so much, because they illustrate just like one of the most hopeful parts of the human experience for me, and that is we are capable of change. And it is partly through these small daily steps that we take, the actions that we take, that ultimately change our beliefs about ourselves, and that ultimately changes our identity. You become an artist by making art. James Clear writes about this in his book, Atomic Habits. He writes, more precisely, your habits are how you embody your identity. When you make your bed each day, you embody the identity of an organized person. When you write each day, you embody the identity of a creative person. When you train each day, you embody the identity of an athletic person. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with that behavior. In this way, the process of building habits is actually the process of becoming yourself. After some reflection, I also decided to not wait until the new year to start working on this goal. So I printed out a couple calendars for the remaining months, and I started giving myself star stickers on the days when I had made art for 15 minutes every day. And it's, only been a couple weeks. I've definitely missed some days, but I'm excited about this goal that I have for 2022. I hope this video was helpful. Maybe you'll use some of these tips as you start planning for next year. See you soon.